If you want to improve as a developer, there's essentially three things you need to focus on. One, you got to learn. So that's where you go to the class, you watch the screencast, or you read the book, or you sit next to a person who can mentor you. That's a really important step. Number two, you have to write a lot of code. And it goes without saying, right? But sometimes people get caught up in the learning aspect where they read constantly and they're watching tons of videos, but don't forget, you have to put that to practice where you actually write code. And then the third category is you need to read a lot of code. All right, so three things: learn, write code, and read code. This series will focus on the latter, and we'll keep it close to home. We're going to read the Laravel.com source code and specifically the documentation. We're going to figure out how this is constructed. And I think if you come along for the ride, you're going to learn quite a bit. And now further, this will be even more interesting because I'm not familiar with this source code whatsoever. I've never even contributed to the repository. So you will learn how everything is constructed at the same time as I do. Okay, so in this video, I want to get started by just getting it up and running locally. Now, I happen to know at the Laravel organization, I think it's called Laravel.com. Yep, here's the source code for the website. Okay, so we can see, things like this aren't really meant to be used by multiple people. But if we do, it looks like there's a marketing page, and then everything else is the documentation. Next, the website's documentation is loaded from the resources/docs directory, so we need to clone that from this repository. Okay, let's get started. Let's see if we can get this up and running locally. I will clone it, and then cd to that project, and open this up in Sublime. So right away, I can see a couple things. One, we don't yet have our vendor directory, so we need to install the dependencies. And then two, it looks like this project is still using Laravel Elixir. Really, I should submit a PR to switch that over to Mix, but no big deal. But that does mean we also need to install our npm dependencies. So let's do that as well. npm install, and then once we're done, I will also run npm run dev, and that's just a standard in Laravel that will compile everything down. And it looks like in this case, as part of that, it will also boot up the Watcher. So we'll give that just a second. And there we go, it's all compiled down. Okay, so now, I doubt it's ready yet, but let's go to laravel.com.test, and we get a whoops error page. So as you know, this is what you'll see in production, and I think the issue is, there's no .env file, so we need to create that. So I think this will be a case if we switch back, there's no example environment file we can use. So I'm hoping I can grab the default for Laravel, so that will be at the Laravel/Laravel repo, and hopefully that should be enough. So let's grab the raw data there, and I will paste it in. All right, so now let's go back to Chrome and give this a refresh, but now we get no application encryption key has been specified. All right, fair enough. PHP Artisan key generate. One more time. There we go. It's working. Excellent. So we can see all the assets are here. Everything's compiled down. But I think the bulk of it is going to be the documentation. So we click. The default is 5.6. And I can see it's loading a 404 type thing here. So I think this is where we need to come back to our project. And you'll see all of the documentation is stored on GitHub, and it has to be cloned into a resources docs version number directory. So that means we could make a directory, resources docs 5.6. And we don't have a docs directory. Quick tip, you can use -p for make directory, and that's basically saying I want a recursive create. Okay, now it creates that full tree. Next, it looks like you need to clone in every single branch. And for the documentation, the source code, the markdown files are all contained according to the version number. In our case, we're only interested in 5.6. So I'm going to clone that into the resources docs 5.6 directory. I think that should do it. Okay, so if we come back, give that a refresh, still not. Let's see, did that work correctly? Resources docs 5.6 docs. You know what, I assume all of these files need to be direct children of 5.6. So let's just do a quick move. So docs, everything in there, into the current directory. All right, get all the files within the docs directory and move them to the current directory. So now you'll see that's empty. That's what we want, I think. So let's come back, give this another hard refresh, and there we go. Perfect. Now everything seems to be working. So can I visit all of these different files? Yeah, all of this is working the way I'd expect. Okay, so now that we have it up and running, I want to start working through the source code. And the goal is not to make a change, not to do anything. The only goal is to figure out how is everything constructed? How do they construct the routing? What do the controllers look like? How are they reading these markdown files? It sounds like they need to be parsed. How is that structured? That is the goal here. So we will both figure that out together in the next episode.